Not every video game takes you by the hand and leads you through an experience so nonchalant and forgettable it may as well be a date with Josh Brown. But nor do many video games go out of their way to make things hard to the extent that most players just give up trying. We know of video games with deliberately tough but fair mechanics, and we know of unlockable difficulty modes that turn things up to 11 or more. But what if you're wanting a challenge and the only way to push things to an extent harder than playing Dance Dance Revolution with the 4 directional pads in 4 separate rooms is to bring this horrendous difficulty, in inverted commas, mode upon yourself? Well, that's what we're looking at today. Those times where tinkering on your end made things more difficult for you, with either very little or even no shenanigans from the developers themselves. They merely made it possible to absolutely dick yourself over. I'm Rich from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are 10 times you made a video game impossible. Number 10. Skulls. Halo. A video game isn't a video game without secret collectibles littered throughout. Sometimes these trivial things to go and pick up are solely for the sake of achievements or some world building like intel in some Call of Duty games, but in the world of Halo, they did secret collectibles in their own way through skulls. Introduced in Halo 2, originally skulls tweaked gameplay on the fly, changing up how the enemies or game mechanics functioned, or just to add a layer of whimsical nonsense to the whole experience. From making enemies stronger and more accurate to removing your hood, your weapon models and all, making all enemies invisible or having them burst into confetti upon a successful headshot, skulls can make your experience more fun or more difficult. For the more seasoned players, skulls were used to ramp up the difficulty outside of the predefined levels, such as one that halved the ammo found throughout the levels and dropped by defeated enemies. Everything was in place to make your next playthrough of a Halo campaign that much more interesting. Whereas Halo 2 triggered skull effects upon pickup, Halo 3 had you activate collected skulls in the menus before a mission, meaning you could switch on pretty much everything for a particular level, given you've collected them all throughout the game, and have quite the interesting time with grenade dodging grunts, shields that won't recharge unless you kill an enemy with a melee attack, and NPCs spouting more humorous dialogue. If you're feeling really confident, why not play Legendary All Skulls On, which does basically what it says on the tin. You brought this on yourself. Number 9. Heroic Deeds. Warhammer Vermintide 2. If you take the vast lore of Warhammer and blend it with the hectic, randomized survival mechanics of the Left 4 Dead series, you'll end up with the Vermintide games. Set during the end times of the Warhammer world, you and 3 friends take on hordes of Skaven, special enemies and bosses across a multitude of levels, and, much like Left 4 Dead, you've got an AI director picking and choosing when to drop hordes of Skaven upon you, as well as the occasional mini-boss here and there for the sheer hell of it. Speaking of Vermintide 2 specifically, whilst there are 4 difficulty levels in the game, Heroic Deed items are where things get interesting, or more rage-inducing depending on your skill level. These items trigger special missions for a particular level with a set difficulty, activating tweaks in mechanics and altered enemy encounters. These special changes deeds can trigger range from health and ammo pickups not appearing at all throughout a level, more powerful Skaven replacing the base level enemies making swarming hordes even more of a pain, all the way through to players slowly taking consistent damage throughout the level even if you're not being attacked. Activate one of these in the pre-game lobby and you've got something that can be infuriatingly difficult, but worth trying for the sweet, sweet loot you'll get upon completion. These are entirely optional and can only be triggered within a private game, but when you're chasing higher power and rarer items, sometimes burning a heroic deed is the best way to get them. Number 8. Custom Mutations. Black Ops 4 Zombies. Black Ops 4 Zombies, in a vanilla sense, changed a lot about the co-op mode we've come to know and love over the last 10 years. While some find Treyarch Zombies more difficult within itself, Blops 4 gave you even more options about how to go about dicking yourself over. The removal of Juggernog was a start, but the actual difficulty levels present changed the maximum amount of health your character had, something we'd not seen in this series before. If you want to go all out, then go for the realistic mode which downs you in one hit. But if you're feeling even more reckless and or idiotic, Blops 4 took Blops 2's minimal amount of game tweaking to the next level, allowing players to make the mode as ridiculously difficult or as easy as they wish. From choosing the specifics on zombie activity like altering their speed, max health and having them only take damage from headshots, to nailing down the box to one spot or have it move on every spin, through to utter ridiculousness of blocking off areas of the map entirely, not allowing the power to be turned on so no perks or traps, and almost breaking the mode entirely by switching on friendly fire. Things won't be easy when you party up and some true sociopath is hosting and changing up how things work behind the scenes. Or just do a first room challenge. That always works. Number 7. Performance Mode. Guitar Hero. Guitar Hero in itself can be a challenge for some. Not everyone can master 5 buttons, a strumming thing, and a whammy bar on a big plastic controller. Thankfully, you do get various difficulty levels that change up the frequency of notes and even limiting the number of color buttons you'll actually use. Expert, using all 5 buttons and occasionally a clusterfuck of notes is bad enough, but imagine doing it blind. A cheat present in most games from Guitar Hero 2 onwards activates Performance Mode, which brings you into a playstyle most resembling that of being on stage, playing all notes from memory. No fretboard, no multiplier meter, no star power meter, nothing. Just the stage and the music. Everything else you do from memory. Watching people get at least a 4-star ranking on Through the Fire and Flames in Performance Mode on Expert is absolutely nuts. Once you've got your head around playing a track in Expert and you're feeling kinda comfortable with it, why not input the cheat and see how much you really know? Think you're good at Guitar Hero? Think again. Number 6, Pacifist Mode, Cuphead. I absolutely adore Cuphead. The art style, the music, the gameplay, it is wonderful. However, the difficulty can be pretty daunting for some players. Certain bosses can get in the bin, rumour honeybottoms, and some of the run and gun levels can be a bit of a pain. Speaking of the run and gun levels, there's a secret rank upon completion of these levels, a P rank, only obtainable through not killing a single enemy in the level. You are going to have your work cut out for you as you dodge, weave, and precision platform your way through everything from perilous piers to funfair fever. The bosses themselves are bad enough, but the run and guns can be just as infuriating, and managing to do them all without offering a single evil flower or piss-annoying tuber will land you a rather bleak pacifist achievement, rocking a whole 0 gamer score if you're on Xbox. Not only that, but if you speak to the turtle sat on the pier in Inkwell 3, you'll unlock a black and white video filter and a vintage audio filter for the game. Sure, these do sound and look cool, but you could achieve the same thing without the stress of a pacifist run by turning your TV saturation all the way down and playing the music through something from the 1920s. Life hack. Number 5, the 20 modes, the Five Nights at Freddy's series. Grab a slice of pizza and a change of underwear. We're heading to the weird and convoluted world of Five Nights at Freddy's. I'm going to make the moderately fair assumption that you know what this jump scare-centric horror series is, so I'll cut to the chase. In the first, second, fourth, and sister location titles of the Five Nights series, you can unlock the Custom Night. With a max level of 20 each, experienced players and overacting YouTubers alike took to turning everything up to the max and attempting to survive one night against Freddy Fazbear and co. Not only does it make the animatronics devilishly quick, depending on which of the 4 main titles you are playing, you'll have a different number of top-tier animatronics to be dealing with. In the first and fourth games, you'll be dealing with only 4, but in the second and sister location games, you'll be dealing with 10. Surviving until 6 AM with this difficulty mode usually unlocks rewards within the game, usually extra completion stars on the menu screen. These ultra-hard modes became so popular with both players and YouTubers, series creator Scott Cawthon released the Ultimate Custom Night, a free-to-play title on Steam made up of hodgepodge bits of all the games messily stapled together and released as some kind of impossible fan service title. It was a bit of a piss take, in honesty, but it didn't stop people taking on the 50-20 mode. 50 animatronics all set to 20. It is an absolute mess and a blast to watch. As for actually completing it, that is a whole other kettle of fish. Number 4, Soul Level 1, Dark Souls. Before making any decisions on how to go about changing even the vanilla experience, I'm already utter trash at Dark Souls, so just simply putting the disc in makes this game impossible for me to play. Anyway, for those already on board with the mechanics, happily slashing away at mimics and the like with one arm tied behind their back, why not start a new game and not level at all? Before you've even begun, the first obstacle arises. You can only play as a pyromancer, since every other class starts with a soul level above level 1. Of course, the lack of leveling means your stats will be staying at the bare minimum throughout, making more powerful weapons found later in the game unwieldable since you don't have stat X above level Y, meaning you're going to be relying on the starting equipment or some other measly stuff you'll find in the early game. So coming up against the bigger and bossier bosses later on makes for some interesting, definitely not rage-inducing gameplay, not that Dark Souls didn't do that already. However, you do have one saving grace as the aforementioned Pyromancer. You can level your Pyromancy Glove, an item that isn't tied to your soul level, so you can start dealing more and more damage as your run continues whilst leaving your soul level at 1. It's imperative that you do this to continue playing the game, and it does go hand in hand with the fact you'll want to keep your distance and do your ranged magic stuff since you'll die in one hit, as your level 1 HP stat is absolute piss. Number 3, Knife Only, the Resident Evil series. When you're amidst the stumblesome zombies and terrifying antics of the Umbrella Corporation, you're not usually too far from a firearm. Saying that, there's a good chance you've only got a spluttering of bullets, and since Leon and co probably can't take down the hordes as efficiently as possible like it's the opening scene of Deadpool, your trusty knife will hopefully be to hand to save you from becoming lunch for the undead masses. If you're feeling really adventurous though, why not ignore said spluttering of bullets, chuck your trusty 9mm in the bin, and take to any of the main Resident Evil games with just your knife. It's obvious that slashing away at a zombie isn't anywhere near as effective as using good old shotgun shells, and stabbing at weak spots on bosses can be a bit of a pain, but it's possible. The numbered sequels, Code Veronica X, and the Revelations games can all be completed with only the knife, with the more modern games giving you lovely achievements and rewards for doing so. Most of the time you'll be dodging rather than slashing, but prepare to stab away for a while when you'll eventually need to. Speedrunners enjoy doing this already since there's enough challenge in speedrunning itself, and if you're becoming more confident in the Resident Evil 2 remake, then why not try completing it without the infinite knife unlockable? Only then can you call yourself the king of Raccoon City. Number 2, no A button, Super Mario 64. Now this is where things get truly ridiculous. The man, the myth, the mustache legend, Mario. He's a plumber that's not a plumber, and his favourite thing to do aside from stamping on turtles and sliding down flagpoles is jumping. So why would you attempt to remove this fundamental feature of a Super Mario game when trying to complete it? Well, that's what many have attempted to do in Super Mario 64. This title is hugely popular with speedrunners and glitch hunters and just Mario 64 obsessives in general. One strange challenge is to get as many stars as possible without pressing the A button at all. Mario's moveset in 64 does allow him to move about and gain some height or speed with rolls and slides, but normal jumping, the ability to ground pound, swimming, and even the confirm action aren't possible when trying out this challenge. Players have gotten so far without glitching, warping, or triggering skips in the game, but it'll always eventually come to that when attempting this ridiculous feat. As to whether it's possible to actually complete Mario 64 entirely without jumping is something I believe the 64 community are still trying to establish, but there are a select few who are still finding ways around what would normally be rudimentary jumping puzzles. In a more recent spin on this challenge, players have managed to beat Super Mario Odyssey without jumping. However, this doesn't count jumping as a captured creature or many of Mario's extra moves, similar to the ones that are still legal in the no A button Mario 64 run. While Mario 64's no A button challenge might be a stretch, getting a cold hard 0 on the Mario Odyssey jump stat is possible. Go and try it, I dare you. Number 1, permadeath runs almost any video game ever. As long as you can die in a video game, you can attempt a permadeath run. In case you're not in the know, think of it as an entire video game as one big level, no checkpoints whatsoever. You die, you start again. All over again, irrelevant of how far you have or haven't got. You're back at square one. Players have taken this to the most ridiculous of games, such as the Dark Souls series and Bloodborne, to games with potentially huge stories to tell, such as the Fallout series, the Witcher series, and the Elder Scrolls series. Some games actually have permadeath built in, so if you die, your save file is deleted and well, that's it. Start afresh or stick your foot through the TV because you are a good 30 hours into that run. Some multiplayer and MMO titles have a permadeath feature. Even Minecraft has one that works in either single or multiplayer. When this was first introduced, the multiplayer variant had killed off players banned from the server. One of my friends found that out the hard way at a LAN party many years ago. If any of the other challenges from the other entries sound a little too tough in some respects, or you don't own the games in question, a permadeath run is the easiest one to do. Just don't die, obviously. And that's my list. What other ridiculous challenges do you want other players to face? Share your horrendous challenge ideas in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe to WhatCulture Gaming if you haven't already. You can go and have a look at the Teespring store, there's some nice shirts on there, and you can follow me on Twitter at PickupChangeToe. I've been Rich, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.